Welcome to the Manifest, Manage, and Multiply Money podcast. I'm Audrey Faust, the Manifesting CFO, and I'm your host. And on this podcast, we are going to hear real conversations from women who have built multi six figure, seven figure, and even multi seven figure businesses. We're going to explore the identity shifts, the mindset, and the leadership evolutions that they went through in order to grow a business. You know, the things that nobody talks about, because building wealth isn't only about strategy, it's about the mindset and the woman you have to become in order to do this. Now, let's dive in. I am super excited to be here today with Dr. Braley Bourque. She is a multi seven figure entrepreneur and speaker dedicated to optimizing health and performance through innovative healthcare solutions. Leading the Clarity Way MD, Elevate Her Healthcare Solutions, and Insight Neuro at the intersection of wellness, longevity, and advanced neurological diagnostics. Welcome, Dr. Braley. I'm so excited to be
Hi.
here talking to
I'm
you
so
today.
excited too. I'm blessed to be here and honored.
Thank you so much for joining me. And what I love about Dr. Braley is she took a hard lesson in scaling someone else's company first.
Yes.
To from 5 to 35 locations and had zero equity in that. So it turned out that this was the exact blueprint for her to build her own business, however. And is proof of knowing your worth is a business strategy. So please, Dr. Braley, take a minute or two and tell us about what you do and what your businesses are, as
Yeah.
well as what you love most about them.
Yeah. So you kind of hit the titles of them. So one of the companies is a TBI diagnostic imaging company. We have over 20 locations in Georgia. We do all personal injury. We have neurologists who read the reports and then generate a report for the attorneys if it goes to litigation. So we do that. We partner and collaborate with other physicians. So whether that is an interventional pain management doctor, a PT, and chiropractors, we're pretty much inclusive of everyone. So that's like my baby. It's my longest standing company. So that one we have like a strong team around. We got that one going. We're scaling now into other states, and then the Clarity Way is a telemed peptide company. We have medical doctors and chiropractors a part of that as well. This is peptide therapy. It's been amazing to grow. I feel a lot of passion behind the Clarity Way just because I had a lot of health issues. I was diagnosed with PCOS, told I could never have babies, and peptide therapy changed my life. And so I get to do that with other women and also help men in other ways too. So there's a lot of passion behind what I do with the Clarity Way. And then Elevate Her really stemmed from a lot of women reaching out to me. I'm 30, so I'm everyone calls me young. I feel old sometimes, but I feel maybe that's wisdom, maybe. But I'm 30 years old, and people are always saying, how did you get where you are at such a young age? And you really just love women. And so I wanted to create an event that, in the personal injury realm, there's a ton of events for that industry, but there's really not a place for just women entrepreneurs, women moms, like women who just want to come together and collaborate and grow. So there's 5 pillars of Elevate Her. There's business, faith, motherhood, health, and entrepreneurship. And so we have like our next pillar in October is really business. And so I'm bringing in tax CPAs. I'm bringing in all these extra things for people who are building their business. Maybe they don't understand HR, how to build teams, really operations, why it's important to have these people and speakers coming in who are really the top 1% in their thing. And so they can learn from people who are actually building and women specifically who are also moms. And so they are doing it all. And it's not, I'm like, it's not just me because I feel like I'm around women who are all powerful, but I don't realize not every woman has that group. And so I want to create
Yeah.
that space because it's hard to find women who are really understanding both motherhood and faith and entrepreneurship. It's something that people think you have to have one or the other. And now we're kind of society saying you can't have it all. But I disagree. I have it all. And I'm not to say that I don't struggle, but I think you can have it all.
I agree. I think you can have it all. I don't think you have to choose. So that's amazing. You are young, especially to me, but you are also so successful, yes, at such a young age. And that's very impressive. And
Thank you.
I love having you here on the podcast as the representative of a mom who's doing it all. And not only are you a mom and you have not just one, but three businesses. So
And I have
that's
two
amazing.
stepkids. So I'm a bonus mom too.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So, in the intro, we talked about how you helped scale a company from 5 to 35 with no equity. And what did that teach you about your worth? And it's a pattern like I see a lot of women that I work with, they struggle with their value and their worth. So, what did that teach you?
Um, I think I'll never forget like the feeling in some team meetings because I loved the company and I felt like there was two owners of the company. I loved it so much that I was doing so much for it, but I felt like almost they didn't love it as much as I did. And so I had
Mm,
to sit with myself and say, I'm building someone else's dream. I'm making them rich in the process. And I was so attached to the doctors there and the like CAs and all of them that I didn't want to leave. Even when I left, I mean, I went to each clinic and went and talked with them and they were like, we're leaving if you leave, because that's the
uh,
bond that I created with, and that's the culture. I think culture is what a lot of people don't have in organizations that grow is they lose culture and leadership. And so I saw the lack of that in that organization. And I was like, I want to create something where it's mine, right? I can scale it. But I also like my ideas have impact because I would tell them things I wanted to do and they were allowed to tell me no because I didn't own it, which
right.
which makes it very difficult when I'm like, well, hold on, I know the numbers probably better than y'all. And this is like a really good idea, or this is a really bad idea. And they wouldn't really take that into consideration. And I was like, I need to do my own thing because I'm going to struggle. I always tell a lot of people I'm a terrible employee. You don't want to hire me because I'm going to tell you what you're probably doing wrong 10 times. Like this is not right. I'm very outspoken. And so my husband now, well, my husband in 2 months, but he just kept telling me, he's like, you're an entrepreneur. Like you're trying to work for people and you're gonna keep coming into this place and you're young. Just take the risk now and go for it. And you could find capital from anyone. You can find investors, you can find funding, but you need to sit down and talk like what is it you want to build and then find your partners or, and it will come. But it's hard. Like that's the easy way to describe it. But it was very hard to do, but that's what I did. I had to sit with myself and decide, there was this safety net of having an income that was consistent. And I didn't have to always
Yeah.
take home the headache of the risk, right? The financial risk that comes with when you own it. But I wouldn't change the stress I have now for what I can do. And I told Eric, I was like, I actually tell a lot of women this when I speak on stage, but what a disservice it would have been if I had never gone for it because I wouldn't have met and been able to inspire women through Elevate? Are these patients through Insight? Are these clients through Clarity? Because I didn't bet on myself. I wouldn't have helped any of those people because I was too scared. And I think
Mm,
that's something that people don't think about. They don't fear that enough. They fear the losing stability, but they don't fear like losing your dream to that.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, it does take a lot of gumption and a lot of risk to go out on your own. And it definitely paid off for you. And I love that it did. And I love that you were able to grow your business so quickly. In fact, so quickly, I think your investors, you paid them off, right? Early, correctly, if I
Mhm.
remember that. And they
Yeah,
were
like they
like,
said in the
how did you do
industry.
this?
Yeah, even he called, it was funders and he called me and he's like, "Who are you and like what's your background because this isn't common. This isn't done in 2 years. Like even in 2 years it's uncommon to do that with no capital from anyone." So he just kind of laughed and was like, "Whatever you," he's like, "When you go to sell, let me know." Which is a compliment, That's a big compliment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I see a lot of women struggle building their businesses. It takes them years. And a lot of it has to do with money mindset, their worth, their value, their pricing. So, how did you come across with that? I mean, we were actually having a little conversation before we started
Yeah.
recording here
Yeah.
about that,
I
like
think
about the different clientele, and you seem to know your value right off the bat. So, can you talk a
but
little
that
bit
took
about that?
time. I think confidence comes from replicatable results. And I had to learn that early on because one, you have to know your margins and your numbers, right? You have to be profitable because that matters in a business. But two, if you
Speaking my
don't,
language.
yeah, but if you haven't seen the result yet and you didn't see the clients from the results you produced, it's hard to be confident when someone pushes back on you. And it happens every day. It happened today with the client and them saying, like like almost what is the value? And you have to know your value and you have to be confident in it. And actually after that conversation, that person actually ended up doing something extra because I was confident in my approach. And so I think it's very you have to know your worth, and it comes down to all of that. I mean, that girl that, what, 5 years ago was working for a CEO that didn't treat her good, like, that girl's still there, and there's days where that girl wants to come out, but I've worked really hard
Yeah.
to have the confidence to know that this works, and I there's other people that are willing to either pay your price because they know the value in it. You do have to, one, be valuable. You have to, but you
Of
have to have
course.
the results to prove that you're worth whatever that is. People, and you have to know too, that's part of your brand. Who is your key audience? Because for something like peptide therapy, it is very much like longevity is the new medicine, but it is luxury. So if someone wants it from you, but at a cheaper price, it's already kind of like this disconnect that's not really going to work. Peptide therapy, it shouldn't be. It should be more easily accessible. But it's just, you got to pay pharmacies, and I'm not a pharmacy. And so there's other sides to that. But you have to know your value so that you can communicate it properly. And if you're confident in it and you have results, there are people that are going to leave, people that are never going to be able to pay your prices, or there's going to be people who are going to question it or maybe even talk bad about you after the call. Those aren't my people. Those aren't my clients. My clients trust me and they've stuck with me for a long time.
You make a lot of great points. And I was just speaking with someone else on the podcast earlier this week. And when she decided to be picky about who she was working with, her revenue actually doubled.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like a lot of women will say, well, if I don't say yes to everybody, then I'm losing money. But actually, it's the opposite that happens.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's just building a business. I mean, business 101. You got to find your clients. You have to have, whether it's a product or a service. I mean, that's all the numbers in the beginning. I think people are great ideas people, but being a good business owner is you have to have an operational side. I'm not an operations person. Throughout the years, I've had to learn to love numbers because being an ideas person is amazing and I can get people in a room, but if it's not profitable, then like, you're going to be miserable and then you're going to hate what you do because you're not making any money. And it happens to a lot of people I know.
You are speaking my language, Dr. Braley. I mean, I want to emphasize this even more. Like coming from you, who's started your business just a couple years ago. I've worked with women who've been in business 10 and 12 years. And because they have this fear of their numbers, financial phobia, they 10, 12 years in business, if ever, they've barely ever looked at a profit and loss. So, I mean, the fact that you came in guns a-blazing, you knew that the numbers were the most important part, and maybe you learned that at the other business you were at. Can you just talk a little bit about it from your angle of why the numbers are such an important part in understanding them and your
Yeah.
profitability?
I mean, actually, it's funny you say that. So I made a post on my social media talking about, keep pushing because like, year one, if you're taking out a lot of loans or whatever it is, year two, you're probably paying those back. And then by year three, if you have a good strategy or if it's a profitable business, you'll start seeing income and you'll start seeing profit. And this guy commented on it and he was like, that's not true. Most people fail out of business year 3. And I was like, well, I want to challenge you on that because it probably was not a good business model. And I'm like, I mean, I was like, I would never go into business if I didn't know my numbers, if I didn't do a projections. I need to know what these
Mm.
numbers are going to do for me. And I got to give credit where credit is due. My husband is his MBA. He's a consultant. When I was working with the other company that I didn't own, I would do all the financials for them. That was the first time I ever saw a P&L because my Eric was mentioning, he's like, what is y'all's P&L from last month? And I was like, they never really said I had control of that, but I was the CEO. But they kind of managed more of that themselves. And so I asked him if I could look over it with Eric. And Eric was saying there was a lot of issues. He was like, this is actually not good here. This is. So then I learned a lot through that company. I don't regret any company I worked for, even if it wasn't a great environment, because I learned a lot without the risk component. I got to make mistakes without risk. I got to see things without risk. So once I was really ready to really go for it, I knew exactly what I needed to set up a company because I worked for companies that were not set up right.
Mm. Well, I love that your husband was the numbers guy behind the scenes.
We gotta love our MBA, our finance. They always say date the finance guy. You should date the finance guy. You should marry him too.
That's amazing. And, P&L, profit and loss, some people are not familiar with that term actually. Your profit and loss is such a key indicator of your business. I love the fact that you got to look at what a profit and loss shouldn't be, right? In the other business and what wasn't working. And you're like, okay, I know how to do it differently. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I saw a lot of things. There's a lot of things too, like seeing what clinics were actually profitable. And then this clinic was really paying for that clinic because they were losing every month. So it was like, hey, this clinic is dead. Like we got to figure out something. And they didn't know that. They didn't realize it was kind of just struggling the last like year. So someone overlooking that, I mean, you should have now with all of my companies, I have a CFO and I also have a bookkeeper. I meet with them once a month. So there's nothing that really slips through my crack in terms of like my finances.
That's fantastic. I love that you have a CFO as well. That you
I'm
meet
kind of
with once a
crazy with
month.
my numbers.
And your success shows it, right? Your success shows that you got into your numbers and you created a business that's profitable. So I want to back up a little bit because your first year, you told me a story about your entire first year, you weren't paying yourself, right? And uh, your team actually asked for a raise. Tell us a little bit about that and how that felt and
Yeah,
how
I
you
mean,
handled that.
I think I'm human. I think like anything, when people are asking for a raise in your company is like you're literally paying back your debt. It's like very difficult because you're breaking even just so you can keep
Right.
these employees. I think I have this ungodly like what is the word I'm looking for? Like delusion that I'm going to be successful. So I will tell you, maybe it was delusion mixed with just passion and youth. I don't know. But I got the team together and we talked about where the company was and I showed my numbers. I don't really have anything to hide. I'm very, very honest. I have a lot of integrity. And I wanted them to see that I was not paying myself. I'm not just saying that. And two, this is where the company is and this is where we're gonna go. And I know like follow me and like I will take care of you, but you have to find people that see your vision and you take care of them as well. And then that's where trust gets established. You take care of your team and I think that they just understood where we were. They knew it was a startup when we started. They knew that they were getting,
Right.
it wasn't some well-established huge organization, where they had all this capital put in. It just that wasn't what it was. And so also I have two partners in that company, so having them who they actually have other things that they could rely on, which was tougher for me because I didn't. So I was like a little bit more like probably irritable, is it what they'd say? I'd be like, what's going on? I'm gonna figure this out. Like we gotta do this by this month, which probably made us be successful because I was so crazy. But one of them's a little bit more chill because he's like, well, I have all these other things going on. I'm fine for a year. But we're actually a really good mix. So, if you can't do it yourself, I do recommend getting partners. But really, my advice is once you give equity away, that is it. So definitely find partners that love to do what you don't. And two, can 10x what you can. Either I always say the two C's, actually, Eric mentioned this, was capabilities or capital. Are they going to put money into it or are they capable to 10x what you can't do? if they are those two things, they're great partners. If there's someone that you can pay an employee to do not give them equity. I learned that the hard way
That how did you learn that the hard way? I'm curious to
because I had to
hear.
buy out a partner before.
Okay.
Because once they have equity, and y'all don't think you're a good mix, you have to buy them out, for what
Right.
so buying someone out when you felt like it was unfair, you don't know how someone's going to work until they're doing it. I'm very big on operating agreements. So it's all in there because we're all friends at the beginning of companies, right? So
Yeah.
everyone's like, yeah, you get this and you get that. And but now mine's like 25 pages long. It's like, this is what I expect. If you don't do that, this is when you could pull out. This is vested because I know what it's like to buy someone out.
Yeah.
And that's tough. And honestly, I can say wholeheartedly, we're great friends still. We realized that it didn't work out. And I
That's
bought them
good.
out with interest. I did it over time. So I think they were happy too. So
Well, that's good. I'm glad it was a win-win. So
yeah.
that
I mean, it doesn't have to be
partnerships don't
ugly.
always end like that. Usually they're
Yeah.
pretty ugly.
I think that says a lot about, the person too, because I think because I am a very open person, I'm not like an ugly person. I'm not a greedy person. I can say that honestly, even in my personal life, I'm great friends with Eric's ex-wife. So I think it just comes down to the person that you are too. You just don't do anyone wrong. I try to always have like a lot of integrity.
No, that's lovely. I love that. So, what I like to talk about on this podcast a lot is money beliefs. So, did you have any money beliefs that you had to get over, or your relationship with money? How has that changed?
Yeah, so I actually came from a very blue collar family, probably like lower middle class family growing up. I'm the only person who got a doctorate in my immediate family, and maybe the second in my like extended family. So we didn't, my parents weren't doctors. They were, really not entrepreneurial. So that all of it, I love my dad very much, but there's a lot of times in my life he would say things like, that's not really realistic. Like even when I was, I don't know, 12, I was like, I'm going to move to the city. I really wanted to be like Sex in the City and have a Manhattan, like when I was in my 20s. And my dad was like, good luck. Like, you're just not going to, that's just not real. It's a movie. And I will say, when I was 22, I had a Manhattan in Buckhead because I moved here by myself. And I was like, I made it. So that was a big, I made it moment. But yeah, I think there was a part of that that had to die because there's two things. I think I am very can be like overly delusional before I have something, whether it's manifesting, whether it's delusion. I don't know. People call it all different words. I have a very strong confidence that I can do something. I do work very hard, but I know like I put the steps together and then I find my who's. So I don't sit on the numbers too much. Like, they call it a quick start. You don't need a lot of detail. You just go
Yeah.
for it. I'm risk averse. I think as an entrepreneur, you got to be a little crazy. I'm very like a little delusional. And I I wasn't gonna let anyone, even family, tell me I couldn't do it. I didn't care. Like it didn't I cared more about not going for it and regretting it than had I failed at it. That scared me
Oh,
more. And I think you have to get to that place is that I don't care what anyone says. The worst thing you could say about me is, "Oh, she failed in business." Doesn't sound that bad to me. You know? Like,
well, you did the opposite of failing.
but like, and I'm sure one day I might invest into a company that does fail and that'll be okay. Like, I'm okay with that. I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to be perfect, and no one is perfect. And business is like
No.
the furthest thing. If you are a perfectionist, there are so many versions of you that have to die to be a successful business owner, and a lot of ego deaths that need to die so that you, even in partnership, like you don't know everything and you got to learn how to be flexible and how to pivot. And there's new things in the industry that come up, new laws that get pushed, things in PI, a tort reform got pushed. That was scary for us. Things in the peptide industry that aren't FDA approved that got pulled, they're not doing those compounds anymore that patients like. You have to pivot. And if you don't know how to pivot, you're going to struggle.
So you mentioned the worst thing that could be is that you failed. Have you had any failures along the way in building these
Oh, I
businesses?
mean, yeah, like not hitting numbers when I wanted to. I do think my numbers are probably aggressive. But definitely, like when we'll have a month where we get 250 cases, 200 cases in one state. And then now it's, let's just say, I don't not now, but like, let's say the next month it was 100. Like we lost 50% of cases. Like, why did that happen? Because the industry is very much like this. There's new people popping up. So, yeah, I mean, right when you think you're like, oh, I'm just going to keep going up, that's not always true. And so you
Mm,
have to know your numbers enough to know what you need because there will be very good months. There will be harder months. I think now we're very consistent, but that wasn't how it was in the beginning.
yeah. And you keep saying a lot about how you're delusional. And I look at that as unshakable confidence, right? Like when I look at you and you keep saying, well, I'm delusional, I'm looking at you and say, wow, she just has the most amazing, unshakable confidence. Is that something you've always had, or is that something you've developed?
No, when I was little, I actually was put into performing arts and I was extremely shy. But I was very, I talk about
I
this on
can't believe
stage.
that.
I know I was very shy. And I also was pretty problematic in the sense of I probably should have went into law in a way. That's why I work in the law world. But I love to argue when things weren't fair. And I always had a strong voice and a strong opinion. And there were so many meetings my parents had to go through high school. I was a straight A student and I was a great performer. I was always very like great at what I did. But my problem was I would call like professors out when I thought something wasn't right, or I would call a dance instructor out when I thought something wasn't fair. And now that I'm older, I'm like, I didn't really do anything wrong. Like if Charlotte told me the situation, I, as an entrepreneur, will probably be like, there's a way to say that. But I'm not mad at you for saying that what wasn't right, and that's something that you saw. And I wish I would have had someone in my corner as a little girl who maybe had told me those things because I was never disrespectful. I felt like what I saw wasn't right. And so to say I'm unshakable confidence, maybe because when I would be in those meetings, I still was very much like, no, what you did was wrong. And I was like 10. And so I probably was not an easy kid. I'm sure if my parents were on this call, they would say like my mom's like, you made my prayer life strong. But she tells me now when she sees me on stage, she's like, you were always this version and you didn't let
Mhm.
anyone change you. She's like, you didn't let the world change you. You didn't let adults change you. And I just, if I can give anything to my daughter, it would be to have unshakable confidence because we're told to dim our kids and to even the school system, like all of it, it's not really created for entrepreneurs, I don't think. And,
No.
if she sees something that's not right, I want her to speak up. I will never make her feel bad for it. Granted, there is a way to do it.
And you make a good point because I've heard of so many women, maybe in older than you, maybe in my generation, where women were taught to be in the background, not to shine, to dim your light. And it's nice to see that maybe that's turning, right?
Hmm.
And we're not keeping women down. And in result, we're creating these confident women like yourself that have this unshakable confidence that
And you can
I just
have
love.
both. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm in all of you.
I
You are amazing.
appreciate Thank you.
So, looking back at your whole journey, like how did the inner work, like knowing your worth, what kind of leader you're going to be, grow together with the practical side of your business?
I guess being able to communicate the vision of what you want in your company, because there has to be numbers you have to hit and there's cost of everything, but also there's other side, when you're a CEO or just an entrepreneur, because I think CEO is still a position in a company, whereas an entrepreneur usually tends to be better at marketing and probably like the brand and the vision. CEO to me is still someone who's like, it's different. And I didn't realize that till later in life. But yeah, I think it's just being able to communicate with your team, all sides and everyone matters. You have a CEO and you have a COO for a reason. So you need your numbers people. And I'll be honest, I struggle with COOs because my brain does not operate that way. So whenever we're talking, I'm like, yeah, we can add this and we could do this. And they're like, Braley, this is amazing. But like, this is where we're at. Like, but because so you need both because you need someone who's a little bit more unshakable, who's going to go and get the relationships to build it. And that's probably not going to be your operations person. But
No.
but you like that's just like your sales people versus operations. Like they're very different. people, and your CEO should be able to communicate between the two. They're more like the mediator.
Absolutely.
CEOs are, as I used to say, like are mediator type personalities. Everyone thinks they're like overly strong willed. They should be, but they should be good communicators between the whole organization and lead a good leader. But I think they always think that CEOs have to be this like overly tough, big personality. I actually find most successful CEOs are a lot more calm than people realize.
Yeah, I agree. I think one of the things that a lot of women or entrepreneurs may call themselves a CEO, right? But I really think to really be in that seat, in the CEO seat, you have to understand everything. You have to understand your numbers and be looking at them. You have to understand marketing and how that works. You have to understand operations and how that works. If you're missing one of those things, you're truly not sitting in that CEO seat. And of course, my thing is your numbers. Like that's what a lot of women business owners are not looking at. And you are such an amazing example for
Yeah, a lot of
looking
people
at.
too, like when you're building a business, a scary part of building a business too is like you outgrow people in your organization. And that's like no one talks about that, but is like
Yeah,
one of the hardest things is someone who got you to 2 million probably won't get you to 4 million. And so then you have to
100%.
find a CEO who can do that. And Eric and I talk about this not just as a CEO position, but multiple positions in his companies. And he's like sometimes like, oh, I think this person's outgrowing this title. Like I don't think that they need to be in this chair anymore because we're getting too big and they don't. You're almost trading on the job because they don't know how to do it. Just because they got you here does not mean they can get you there. And until you're really an entrepreneur and you're scaling, you'll understand that. I think some people can hear that and think you shouldn't let go of someone who grew with you. That's not what you're saying, but it's capabilities. Some people aren't capable to get you to that further place. And it
Yeah,
really is the truth. And it's hard. It's a hard place to be.
100%. And sometimes they're not willing to even grow, right? Even if they're willing to grow with a company and learn more, then maybe they can grow with into a new role, but not if they're just, "Oh, this is where I am and this is my lane." So,
Yeah, exactly.
uh, when you look at your life now, what part of it still surprises you?
Oh my God. This is funny. So, do you know the game Sims? We probably played it when you were a kid. It's like a computer game. You create
I
your
know
own,
of it. Yeah, I've never played it.
okay. So you create a person, okay, and then you find your husband, and then you have babies, and you build your dream house, and you have your career. So a couple weeks ago, I was really bored, and I was like, I played this game when I was in not high school, like in middle school, all the time because it was like it's your fantasy life. Well, I was playing it 3 or 4 months ago because I needed, like, something to just detox my brain, and I walked out within 10 minutes of playing it, and Eric looked at me, and he's like, "You didn't enjoy it? You used to play it as a kid. Is it, like, just not the same?" And I said, "Eric, everything I created was the life I have. The house, the cars, the husband, the kid, the job." I was like, "It was what I used to literally create in the game that
Wow.
I'm living now." And so I have a lot of pinch me moments. And honestly, it's not really the car or like all that stuff. It's more about like, I went to Tulum this past weekend with 5 other couples who are all entrepreneurs in great marriages, moms. And it's that I've cultivated like those people in my life. I've found those people. And I think that that changes because success is like it's subjective. Whatever, like the house can be success to people, millions of dollars can be success, but to me, I've hit so many of those brackets that I like freedom of time and making sure, Charlotte has everything I didn't have is really what success is for me. So knowing that I can do that at such a young age is really a pinch me moment for me.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love the game analogy too.
Well, it made me
So
laugh because
crazy.
I didn't realize it till yeah, we walked out and I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm bored. I can't even play a game.
This
Like
is already my life. I don't need this game anymore.
I was like, I was crying. I was like, I have such a
Wow.
good life. Like, and I don't take it for granted. I did not come from like a ton of money. I had what I needed. I didn't have a bad life, but my life, Charlotte's life will be very different than how I was raised. But I will say my dad was great at teaching me work ethic. My mom was always present in my life. She was always very a strong role model in my life as a mother. So, it's hard to say, even raising Charlotte, I went through things that I just want to protect her from that were so hard for me. But I do want her to have work ethic. And it's hard to say she will if she didn't go through the struggles I went through to get where I am.
That's interesting.
So it's
Yeah,
this battle of how do you do that? Because work ethic it's the one thing that can't be bought.
I agree. All of my 3 children have a very strong work ethic, and I definitely think it's because and I think your children will probably be the same. If they see you working hard, like, it's more about what they see, the life that you created for them, right? So if they
And
see you
mindset.
working hard and your husband working hard, like, I think they're gonna say, "Oh, like, to have all these wonderful things, then you do need to put effort in," right? So,
Yeah.
I hate to say
Yeah.
working hard because 'cause we've also been programmed that you have to work hard to have money, and that leads to burnout sometimes.
Yeah. Which leads to peptides.
That
Capacity. Peptides give you capacity to not get burnt out, to keep performing.
I love that. So, you do have a free gift for our audience. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So you will be allowed, or not allowed, but I guess we can put, the website on here, and you just go to new members. It's free. You can do a consult with me and we can just talk through your health, talk about where you are on your health journey. If you are interested in peptide therapy, kind of like what I was saying is, when I think of peptides, it's not just like peptide therapy or medication. It's about capacity. So if you are someone who is postpartum, so even men too, because everyone always thinks it's women, weight loss, if you are an entrepreneur that you're traveling a lot, so sleep, recovery, there is sexual health. There's so many things to peptides to give you the capacity to keep performing as a mom, as a business owner in your company. If you are not healthy, it is very hard to scale companies. If you are not, you're not mentally clear, it's very hard to think through concepts and ideas and scaling. So peptides for me have really changed my life. I've worked with a lot of women and men who I've watched their faces visibly, look better, like they're losing weight, but also just like the energy on our calls of, I'm going to scale another dental clinic because I work with a lot of dentists. I'm going to scale, I'm going to have this other business idea. I haven't felt like this since I was in my 30s because a lot of the people I work with are 35 to 65. And so they feel better than they felt in their marriages, as grandparents, as parents. And so, yeah, you can meet with me, talk with me what season of life you're in, and we can talk through that and what that would look like to get into peptides.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much. And where can people find you? What's the best
Yeah,
place
so
to find you?
you can go to my Instagram. So it's Dr. Bray, dr.bray. Our website to do the new members is theclaritywaymd.com.
Great. Thank you. And one question I like to ask everyone at the end, which is if you could speak to a woman standing on the edge of her next level, what would you want her to know?
That if you don't do it because you're scared, you may risk not touching hundreds of women out of fear. It's not worth it.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. I love how everybody has a different answer, and it's always so beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Braley, for being on here today, and super excited for to see your journey and where you go next.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm very honored and blessed to be here.
Thanks. Thank you for listening to the Manifest, Manage, and Multiply Money podcast. If this conversation resonated with you, please share it with another woman who's building something meaningful. And if you are enjoying this podcast, I would greatly appreciate it if you left a review. Leaving a review can help more women discover these conversations. And until next time, keep manifesting, managing, and multiplying your money.